Recording.
There it is. The camera see me.
Hello, hello, hello. We have a
Hello.
surprise show tonight. Even we don't know how it's going to go.
Oh yeah, that's the best part when it's unplanned.
I know, right? So, tonight we have my special guest is Luis. Would you like
Yes.
to introduce yourself?
Yes. So my name is Lewis, but most people go me by or know me as MJ. I am a YouTuber, and if you haven't figured that out by now, we are streaming on both Dina's channel and mine. You could check my channel out at EXJW MJ. And I met Dina on Facebook. And today is going to be a little bit about we're interviewing each other. And so it's going to be exciting. This is unplanned. But yes, so here I am with Dina. Yeah. I mean, I guess that's all I can say. I mean, I am ex witness, of course. I left about a year ago. And
Ooh,
I've been fresh. I'm like a baby in this
okay.
XJW community. Lovely people, lovely community. I
Mhm.
actually attended my first protest last year in 2023. And of course, as all protests, well, as you're a witness, you think protests are so bad and scary. And I kind of had that in my, like, in the background, my subconscious, but I knew that I would be with good company. And there's going to be police and cops there. So it's like, I didn't have to worry about anything. It was my wife that was worried and she was freaking out, but it was good overall. It's been a good experience so far in this whole year of being out as a witness.
Okay. What's your favorite thing about being free?
Ooh, my favorite part about being free is being free in all aspects. I mean, I think if I were to sum it all up, it would be not waking up Saturday morning to go out on the field ministry. I think that would be my favorite thing. And
Mhm.
having to study for the meeting because I wasn't that big of studying. I didn't like it. I am a very lazy, but that's because I'm more of a visual person. I don't like reading. So
Mhm.
reading the magazines was such a stress, and it also came with a stress knowing that when the CEO came by, I had to make sure all my paragraphs were highlighted for the magazine.
Yeah.
Because if not, it's like you're not considered spiritually strong and you're an upset in the congregation. So I'm
Yeah.
glad to be free in that sense. Yeah. I get to express myself as well without consequences, without judgment. I think that's really important for me. Especially, I mean, it goes to show I'm on YouTube doing it, so without
Yeah.
consequences.
Yeah, I think that lack of judgment is probably one of the things that I appreciate the most about being free. You know
Hmm.
what? Funny enough, I even think kind of clothes, my clothes, what I
Oh,
choose
okay,
to
yeah.
wear. I mean, I spent almost 20 years as a regular pioneer
Hmm.
and always being concerned about, oh, what, is this too low? Or, even if you go to
Yeah.
I even remember thinking about going to Walmart or something like that and being concerned that if a Bible study sees you or something like that, how is that going to reflect on Jehovah? And
Exactly.
the lack of, nobody gives a crap. We were the only ones that were so that judgment was just
Hmm.
intense. I think that's probably one of the things that I enjoy the most is freedom of expression, being able to say whatever you think, being
Heck
able to
yeah.
wear whatever you want to wear, being able to walk past or in any sort of store without
Yep.
any sort of judgment of who might see you or what might they think you're doing, or freedom is so free. So what was the biggest challenge for you leaving? What was the biggest obstacle to making the break?
It has to be my losing out on my friends and family. Um,
Mhm.
because I was big on socialism. I was a softball player in the congregation. I was actually the
Mhm.
pitcher, so I was kind of the most important player on the field. And just I missed that, and I knew I was gonna miss it. And I remember telling my sister that I'm gonna be disfellowshipped even if I just ask them a question and I confront them with what I found. And she used to always tell me, "You're not gonna get disfellowshipped. You're not gonna get disfellowshipped. Just go to the elders. Go to the elders." And I'm like, I can't. Like, this is gonna backfire on me. Like, I know things you don't. Like, there's a book or a manual called the Elder Shepherd the Flock of God that elders know about, and it's instructed in there. Like, you can't question, and they're gonna try their best to redirect your thinking. And I wasn't gonna have it. I know I wasn't gonna have it, and we were gonna bicker, go back and forth. And I
Mhm.
knew that if I confronted them with what I know, I'd be disfellowshipped. And
Yeah.
I mean, it's sad to say that I didn't worry so much if I was to lose out on a relationship between my mom and my sister,
Mhm.
because we didn't have that strong of a relationship anyway because I was inactive.
Mhm.
So I knew that if I were to leave completely, the relationship would stay the same. It was more of my friends I was afraid to lose,
Mhm.
and because that's a big part of who I am, really. I mean, I'm a very lovable person, likable person, and I enjoy that. And just
Yeah.
realizing I'm going to be alone was pretty scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably one of the biggest things that they use in the control of family is that fear, the fear of losing your control. So what have you how
Your
did
voice
you
is your
what's your
voice is
life
a little
like?
low. Your voice, yeah, I can't hardly hear you.
Let me try that. Testing, testing.
I hear you loud and clear. That's perfect.
So, how quickly were you able to make up for that loss in your new world of freedom?
I decided to seek therapy, and that helped me out emotionally. And I understand that as a witness, that's one thing you're kept from doing and discouraged to do, because it's Jehovah God that you're supposed to confess your emotions to. And I did that. I seek therapy because I had a what I faced leaving the congregation and leaving, or I guess abandoning my friends, as they say.
Mhm.
It hit me hard, and I ended up almost killing myself. And at the same time, I had my wife who wasn't fully out either. So we would bicker, we would argue and on differences, and it wasn't good for me. So I needed to seek therapy after I left the hospital from my attempted suicide. So it helped me a lot. I went to therapy for, I guess, 8 months or so. I
Mhm.
was in therapy while I was in the protest too. So, but that helped a lot. It was crucial to have, because I initially started YouTube as a form of therapy,
Mhm.
just to at least hear myself speak out loud. Because to be honest, right now my YouTube is for the people and to help them out, whether it's to help them escape or to help them understand something biblically. And it wasn't like that at first. It was literally just about for me. Even my very first video wasn't meant to be uploaded. I just uploaded just to hear myself. I'm like, am I really
Mhm.
crazy to think this way? Like, I needed to hear it out loud.
Yeah.
But yeah, therapy was huge for me, whether it was YouTube or in person.
I think that's important for everybody to hear
Yeah.
because when you come from such an indoctrinated background, we have no other opinions. There's no critical thinking skills. There's
Hmm.
nobody that you can bounce things off. It's so black and white.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you leave, you really, really, really need an objective person that you can bounce ideas off of. And so that you can say something like, you know, whatever weird things that we say as we're coming out of the religion, and have an objective person go, what did you just say? So that you don't feel
Yeah.
like you're totally insane, so that you get this other perspective. I grew up as one of Jehovah's Witnesses. I came from 5 generations.
Hmm.
I was
Wow.
baptized when I was 10. I started regular pioneering when I was 11. I came from an intense, intense Jehovah's Witness background. And it was my whole reality. It was the only reality that I knew. So being able to talk to somebody, and friends are great, but I mean, you start replacing your friends, get to meet new people and everything,
Yep.
but they have no idea what to do with us. I mean,
Yeah.
explaining how you've lost everybody and they're just blown away by our mentality. So therapy, I think, is crucial to be able to integrate well into the new world, also for your own sanity, but also to help us come to these conclusions and realize, whoa, wait a second. I said
Hmm.
that out loud and people think that's crazy.
Yeah, and you had to go through five generation. Like you were the fifth generation. So that means you have your entire community in
Everybody
the
I know.
religion. Everybody you know.
Everybody. Yeah. Every human I knew. Literally every human I knew. And
Yeah.
my story was a little bit different because I didn't actually wake up. A lot of people wake up doctrinally and then they decide
Hmm.
that they have to make this break with this newfound knowledge that they're in a cult.
Right.
My story was a little bit different because um, when I had to go to the elders and tell the elders that my elder husband was abusing me, that he was already well known for being an alcoholic, and I was all bruised up. So eventually I had to go to the brothers were like, come on, you got to say something. You can't just
Right.
stay quiet.
Hmm.
So he was deleted as an elder. He was publicly reproved. At the time, we were serving in the Dominican Republic where the need was great. So he actually went back to the States before I did
Okay.
and went to the home congregation before I did. They did a little fancy footwork with his letter. You know how there's a letter that follows you from
Yeah.
congregation to congregation.
Hmm.
My father-in-law was a retired circuit overseer. So they
Okay.
took his letter that said he's been publicly reproved and deleted, and they made it clean so that it looked like he was totally fine.
Yeah.
And he left his wife because his wife was an apostate, which was
Wow.
not even remotely true. I was a regular pioneer. I wasn't doubting my religion. I
Hmm.
wasn't questioning anything. So here I go, and he was at the congregation probably about 6 months before I was. So by the time I finally got back, I'm like, "Hi, everybody who's known me my whole entire life," and they're like,
They
I'm
don't
like
want to
trying
talk to
to
you.
answer. I'm like, "Hey, pick me, pick me, pick me,"
No
and everybody's
awareness. Wow.
ignoring me, and I'm like, "What the heck, man?
Right.
Hello,
Hmm.
what's going on here?" And then finally, somebody was like, "Well, we heard you're an apostate," and I'm like, "Dude, that couldn't even be further from the truth. What's surely Jehovah's going to remedy this because
Hmm.
obviously I'm not an apostate."
Yeah. Yeah.
And no, they absolutely treated me like an
Disregarded.
apostate. Then I had this child custody battle that I was going through. And so basically, everybody thought I was an apostate, and I wasn't. I am
And
now, but I wasn't then. So
and
I basically had to figure out, okay, well, something must be wrong with me. Apparently, Jehovah's
of
trying to
course,
teach me some sort of lesson
that's
because,
what they teach you. It's always your
yeah,
fault.
because how could this be happening to me unless it's Jehovah trying to teach me some sort of lesson? So I just kind of was like, well, okay, if this is what Jehovah wants, then I guess I'll just try to restructure my life. I
Hmm.
was already in the kind of like the therapy field with the life coaching that I did. And because I had had experience deprogramming Mormons, I kind of just
Hmm.
like took that whole program that I had did and I restructured my life, not religiously. I went through and I figured out how to make new friends, how to figure out
Good.
education. I did all the lifestyle deprogramming. So, I create my new life out here. And then it wasn't until about 4 years later when I read Crisis of Conscience. And then I was like,
Okay.
ooh,
Yeah. Breaking the
this
ice.
isn't punishment from Jehovah. This is a cult.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty much. That's wonderful. Did you read all of Crisis of Conscience?
I did. I did.
Wow. I haven't
I
read
had
all of
it
it,
on
but
a PDF.
it's
I had it on a
okay.
PDF,
Right.
and I was a little bit scared because it's apostate, and just because I have this apostate
Yeah.
look doesn't mean that I actually was. So I was
Hmm.
nervous to read it,
Yeah.
and I just read one chapter. I like peek at it for a little bit,
Hmm.
and then I read one chapter, and then one night I read a little bit more, and then I read the whole thing, and then the next day I was like,
This is
damn,
it. I'm
I'm a
done.
cult.
Like this
I
is
was
a
grown up
straight
in a
up
cult.
cult.
Now what?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And
that was kind of like backwards waking up.
I'm sure you never heard of the word cult until you were out too, huh? because I didn't know what the word cult meant.
No.
I didn't
Oh,
know it
no,
at
I knew
all.
it. No, I knew what a cult was. They're crazy crazy controlling religions. But that's not the truth. We're not that.
No.
We're the truth.
It's like the word apostate. The word apostate has also been manipulated into thinking it was something else, but it's not.
Yep.
Uh,
Yep.
I remember my first time coming across EXJW material or apostate material, and to believe it or not, I was a witness. It was like 2 years ago where I came across Justin's channel, EXJW Diaries, and I quickly turned that thing off. I was like, this guy does not know what he's saying. No way. I'm gonna shut you down right now. And then I prayed to Jehovah, and I was like, I'm so sorry.
Protect me from
And
these apostates.
yes, yes. And then it like really confirmed me. Like after there was, I don't know who it was, but there was like a YouTube short video of another apostate making fun of the governing body members, and I'm like, see, this is why apostates are whack. So I'm glad I'm staying away from them. And then it wasn't until last year, Memorial time, I watched my very first video of Berean Pickett's channel, and that was intentional. That was on purpose because I was already like waking up. I was like, I was questioning already. And I remember like at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, waking up just to like go to the living room and watch him while my wife was sleeping. And I had to lay down on the couch in a position where I could stare at the bedroom. So if I knew the door opened or anything, I would just quickly change the video. And luckily she never woke up, but I binged Berean Pickett's, and it
Yeah.
helped me wake up. And then after Berean Pickett's was Jack, his channel,
Mhm.
and that helped me out in more of a relationship wise with my marriage because of the things he would say about the blood doctrine especially,
Mhm.
and how to confront your wife with your new profound understanding. And he helped me basically, like he even sent me messages. He helped me basically to tell my wife how to deal with the blood doctrine because we were having a baby at the time. And I was
Right.
afraid, I was afraid like what if something happens, like she's gonna give blood. So I had to explain that to her. And that helped her wake up a little bit.
Yeah.
Sorry if I'm looking over here so much, it's just you're over there. And that helped her out a lot. And then what helped her was the fact of how I was being treated by friends, by family, because she knew that I loved God so much. I wasn't betraying God. I wasn't betraying Jesus. And her viewpoint, I was still a good Christian. Like I was still a good Jehovah's Witness. I just didn't want to go to the meetings anymore because I didn't agree with certain things.
Yeah.
And then that's when she started getting shunned and getting mistreated just because I was her husband. Like it's the craziest thing. And they accused her of being inactive, and because she stopped going to the meetings as well, and now she's with me and we're doing this together, and I couldn't be any happier because
Yeah.
now we have 3 kids. So it's scary, you know.
At least they're not in a cult.
Exactly right, and they understand very well that why we don't go to the meetings. We try to encourage them to have their own thinking. We're not forcing them not to go, but at the same time, we try to really inculcate in their mind that this is something we don't do because God says we don't need to be anywhere to hear from Him. God is everywhere, and
Yeah.
we teach them that, and they're fine with it. But the funny thing is, my father-in-law will still try to bribe my stepson into going over there with video game tokens, or just buying him candy or whatever. And he'll say, if you do this, if you come to the meetings, or if you do your study, you'll get this, you'll get that. Like he bribes him very, very much. And that's a little annoying. But other than that, we're doing good in that department of keeping them away. So, but yeah, I mean, what about you? You have any children or anybody in the faith or in the faith?
So I raised 3 kids in the religion,
Okay.
and
Oh, that's fine.
I have these massive dogs. I have fur children.
So it's okay. I don't know why I keep going blurry. Jeez. Okay.
So in an act of vindictiveness,
Hmm.
my ex-elder husband decided to so I had three children. I got married to the elder when the kids were little. They were like 4, 3, and 2, and he raised them as a stepdad for 10 years.
Hmm.
And when I removed all of his privileges because I was not a submissive wife,
Right. Hmm.
not only did he tell everybody that I was an apostate, but he also encouraged the kids' dad to take them because I was mentally unstable. So
Yes.
the kids' biological dad asked to visit them, and then he kept them.
Hmm. Hmm.
So the beautiful part of that is that my children are not in a cult.
Oh, okay.
The downside is I haven't
Seen them?
in 10
Yeah.
years. Yeah.
Wow, 10 years.
Well, he did a really pretty good one. I mean, he was the kids' biological dad was not a witness. And that was one of the things that he used against me in the custody, of course, is that I was in the religion.
Hmm.
And he did the opposite of brainwashing, and so they think I'm a crazy religious fanatic, which was true. It was true at the time.
Hmm. Hmm.
So the good news is that they have their freedom. They have their freedom to choose whatever careers that they want. Honestly, had I not lost the kids, I probably would have fought harder to stay in the religion
Yeah.
because the brainwashing is that, I'm responsible for their everlasting life. If I
Oh yeah.
question them, then they're all automatically dead.
Violating
So,
Ezekiel 18:20. Yep.
so, since I lost the kids, I found it easier to fade, I suppose,
Yeah.
with that label of, I'm the apostate. So now here I am, labeled an apostate. Nobody's speaking to me. I don't have the kids. And so it just kind of gave me this blank slate to go, okay, so what do I do with life now? Now what? How do I rebuild this? I've got a couple of options. I can either become a complete alcoholic and cry in a corner and go live under a bridge, suicide,
Hmm.
or get my shit together. Get my
Yeah.
shit together and figure out how to restructure life, figure out what's holding me back, figure out everything that I was told is now is on the table for questioning. Is the world
Yeah.
really that bad? There was a couple of things I think that actually really I found very comforting when I got labeled as being an apostate. So obviously, if you're coming from the religion, they will tell you that Jehovah's going to remove his Holy Spirit and everything's going to be horrible. Everything's going to be miserable. You're going to suffer. Everything's going to be horrible.
Hmm.
And I found the exact opposite to be true.
Exactly.
So here I was. I had barely been labeled as that for barely a couple months. And I was in Florida, and all of the custody work was going to be out of Colorado. The divorce and the custody was going to be out of Colorado. So I have this cross country trip that I have to do, from
Hmm.
Florida to Colorado. And in that first year, I had to do 7 cross country trips with no support, no family, no job. So I get this bright idea that I'm going to go to Miami and I'm going to buy a used car. And then I'm going to drive to Colorado. I'm going to resell the car because coincidentally, Florida, Miami especially, has like the cheapest used cars in the entire country. And
Ooh.
Colorado
Okay.
has the most expensive
Shh, it's a
used cars
secret.
in
It's a
the
secret. Stop
country.
saying it.
Great secrets. So I plot myself in Miami. I'm looking for a car, and I find this Cuban guy.
You said a cute guy.
Cuban.
Oh, Cuban guy. Okay. Okay.
Cuban.
All right.
He
Cool.
was he was probably 20 years older than me, so maybe he would have been cute if he were younger, but Cuban's good enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he's like, he's trying to sell me this car, and he's like, well, so what do you need the car for? And so I start to explain that I have this custody battle that's cross country, and that I'm gonna have to resell the car, blah blah blah. And so he just looks at me. He says, you know what, Mija? He says, I'm gonna sell you a car at cost. He says, and I'm going to make sure that this is a car I would let my own daughter drive.
Wow, nice.
So he gives me this car. He goes over, the engine. He shows me how to take care of the car. He explains to me how to resell the car. And then he
Wow.
says, Hita, who knows that you're making this trip cross country by yourself? And I go, nobody cares.
Right.
Nobody cares that I'm driving cross country by myself. And so he says, all right. He says, every time you stop for gas, every time you stop for the night, I want you to send me your location. He says,
Wow.
because somebody needs to know where you are. And
Yeah.
he says, so I'm going to keep tabs on you.
That's
And
good.
so that's what I did. He was the only human who knew where I was when I did those 7 cross country trips. And there were several times I'm like, okay, this is where I am. This is where I'm going to stop. And he'd go, nope, drive another 30 minutes. It looks like it might be a little bit bigger of a town. It looks like it might be a
Wow.
safer town. I mean, he totally had my back. So the first trip, I got to Colorado. I did my court thing, sold the car. I took a one-way ticket back to Miami. He picked me up at the airport, waiting for me with another car. So I
Oh
drove it. I
man.
used it for like a month until I had to go back. And every single time, he had my back. He knew my GPS location. He had a car waiting for me. And to this day, 10 years later, he checks up on me. He's like, hey, you know what? I'm just checking to see how you doing. How you doing, sweetheart? Do you need anything? And I
Yeah.
was like,
Is that little
these
guardian? Wow.
are the evil worldly people that
Exactly. A
we
complete
warned
stranger.
about. I mean, here I am alone. And at the time I was like, well, you know what? Maybe this is Jehovah's Holy Spirit, because I'm still kind of brainwashed.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he was just he was such a good human. And then another thing happened to me too. So here I am. I'm just recently in Florida. I've got this cross country battle that I'm doing. No job. It's damn near impossible to come up with, first and last month security. I mean, I
Oh
could
yeah.
barely even keep a job when you're traveling back and forth. So I was in a parking lot this one day and I was crying in the car. And this little old lady comes up and she knocks on the window of the car. She goes, "Are you okay, sweetheart?" And so, I kind of like, yeah, I'm okay. And she goes, "Come on, let me take you to McDonald's. Let's go get a cup of coffee."
Wow.
So I explained to her, I've got this cross country custody battle. I'm got all this mess going on. And she says, "You know what?" She goes, "How are they going to give you your kids if you don't have a house?" And I said, "I don't know, but I don't know what to do." And she says, "My neighbor, the house next door to me is empty. It's fully furnished, but nobody lives there because the woman passed away and her son inherited it and he's not been able to throw out his mom's stuff. So there's basically a fully furnished empty house right next to me."
Wow.
She says, "Let me call the owner and see if he will let you stay there." So she calls the owner. And so the lady that had died, she was in her 90s and her son was an only child and he was like 76.
Oh wow. Okay.
And so he's like, "Yes, give her the keys to the house. Let her stay there."
Nice.
I got a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom house for free. He let me stay there for an entire year. The only thing he said was, he says, "Can you start going through my mom's stuff?" And he gets all teary-eyed, because this is his mommy, and her dentures were still in the bathroom, her nightgowns,
Oh.
like literally everything. I called it the dead lady's house because it was the dead lady's house.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
he's just like,
Definitely.
she's kind of a pack rat. So he's like, if you could just start taking stuff out, throwing stuff away, take stuff to Goodwill. He says, you stay there as long as you need. I stayed there for a year. And, coming from the Jehovah's Witness religion where somebody's dying, there's a natural disaster and you hand them a watchtower. Here, that was our community service, save them with a Bible study. To find people that were so kind and so loving and so sincere and they're worldly was like, wow,
It's eye-opening,
very,
jaw-opening,
that's so touching. That's so
jaw-dropping. Yeah.
unlike anything that I've come from, that true human, that true humanity. I just thought that was, I mean, those were some of the things that actually I think helped me wake up. Then when I realized it was a cult, I was like, oh yeah, clearly, because there's a whole world of really nice, sincere people out there.
Yeah. When you look back, it's like so weird now.
I know, right?
It's like that I really thought that was unconditional love. Like I thought that was, you know, protective. Like it's not. It's so like it's bootlegged. It's
Yeah,
like it's
yeah,
not really legit, you know.
yeah, yeah.
That's a wonderful, wonderful story. That's amazing.
Well, and then even when I moved here to Ecuador, I felt like I found that same sort of community too, because I'd lived out of the country before. I'd lived in Mexico, I'd lived in the Dominican Republic, but that was all religion
Hmm.
based. That was all regular pioneers. Bethelite's going to show up and pick you up at the airport. They're going to figure out where we're going to stay. It was kind of like a landing ground as you're moving to a different country to serve where the need is great. So
Hmm.
when we decided to move down here to Ecuador, in the back of my mind is like, ooh, how am I going to do this without my international brotherhood? How am I going to do
Hmm.
this without knowing anybody?
Yeah.
You know what? Ridiculously easy. It was so much. I didn't need that at all. I ended up renting an Airbnb, which I got online, right? And the owner of the Airbnb was just like this fantastic, fantastic person who's like, "Oh, you want a place to rent? Oh, here, let me drive you around all these neighborhoods." So he's driving me around all these neighborhoods. And then finally, he's like, "Actually, my brother just called me and said he's got a fully furnished apartment that his tenant just moved out of. So there you go." I mean, it was like, I just felt like I got swept up by this other huge group of people that were just, there is nothing to miss out of the religion. They are so replaceable because what they gave us was fictitious. It was so conditional. And so here
Wow.
I feel like I've got this whole network of people that are actually humans
Hmm.
with hearts, with real
Yeah.
hearts
Yeah.
and real friendships where they don't care what I say, they don't care what I
Yeah.
wear, they're not going to be judgmental of anything. And that
Hmm.
is just the most wonderful, wonderful, wonderful feeling.
Wow. No judging, no nothing. And it's like no robots. No, it's just straight up human quality that we've
Mhm.
been told was non-existent in this world.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
I'm glad that you can say that because whoever's watching now is gonna see, like, especially the females, like, hey, you don't have to worry. There's
Yeah.
this world is full of love. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, we all come from this world. We're all the same. It
Yeah.
doesn't an organization shouldn't define what the people are. We all come from the same God. Like you can't let people tell you that there's no love in the world. Like it's just who are they
Yeah.
to say that? It's just it doesn't make sense to me. That's amazing. And then obviously you're with someone now. You found
Mhm.
someone,
Mhm.
and he's obviously was he is he religious at all or
No.
no?
He has no, he's not religious. He's not
Okay.
religious at all. And you know what? He was also very helpful in cracking the nut of religious brainwashing too.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Okay.
coming from 5 generations as a female, you know how they just absolutely slam submission into your brain. You can't
Mm-hmm.
think, you can't make a decision. Everything has
Yeah.
to be on, headship,
They're
making sure.
misogynistic. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so when I met my husband, very quickly, I remember one of the first, we were trying to decide something like who should pay, should we pay this bill? Should we pay this bill? Something stupid. I don't even remember what it was. And I just remembered saying, "Oh, whatever you want, honey. Whatever,
It's
I'll
that
support
simple.
whatever." Yeah,
It's that
whatever
simple.
decision you make. And he actually got kind of irritated and he's like, "What is wrong with you? Just make a decision." I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh,
Yeah.
what?"
Mm-hmm.
I
It's trying to
was like,
snap you out of
"Ooh."
it. Like, listen, that's not how it should be.
He's like, "You're smart. Just decide. I don't care." I'm
Yeah.
like,
Right.
"Cool, cool."
Mm-hmm.
At another time too. So we worked together. We were selling real estate together, and so I've got professional clothes. And I remember I would be like, "Does this? Do you think the shirt looks okay? Is this okay? Or are these? Does this
Mm-hmm.
skirt look okay?" And finally, he's like, "What the hell is wrong with you? You're a grown woman. Wear whatever you want. I don't care." I was like,
Yeah.
"Whoa, whoa."
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Right. It's your body. You do what you want with it. Like, especially, hey, and if you're gonna look sexy, you get more clients.
I know,
You
right?
know, like,
Like, was like, I don't care. Go naked, whatever you want. Do whatever you want. Why are you asking me? And
Yeah, yeah.
that was a good wake up call too, because I had done plenty of my own therapy and stuff like that, and that was one of the ones that slipped under the radar. I didn't even realize that brainwashing was still in there.
Yeah, right. So, wow. So I think I need to talk about though something,
Okay.
because when I found out about you, you are into plant medicine. Now, how did you quickly get into that? Like, what was it that motivated you? Was that just your desire all this time? Like, how'd you get into that field? And you can explain
So,
what plant medicine is too, because I know a lot of people
okay.
don't really know.
Okay. So, I have always been a healer.
Hmm.
I realized that in about 2005 when I first started doing the life coaching. It was like I just got hit by this bolt of lightning. It was like, "Oh, I love people. I love people."
Mm-hmm.
And I was really talented. I was really good at it. I realized that that was probably what made me a good regular pioneer, is because I loved people. I loved helping people. When I was in the Dominican Republic, we were in a Haitian congregation,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of the Haitians, I taught them how to read. A lot of them were single moms. So it wasn't just let's sit down and read the Bible. It was, okay, sweetheart, this is how you raise a baby. It was a lot more of life skills that I was helping them with too.
Mm-hmm.
So I get kicked out of the religion, and I we did real estate for a while. So for a couple of years I was doing real estate until we decided that we were ready to leave the United States and come here to Ecuador.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things about Ecuador that has always called me, is the plants here. I mean, the Amazon jungle is the
Mm-hmm.
home of all of our pharmaceuticals. I mean, pretty much
Yeah.
any pharmaceutical that's ever been invented or
Established.
discovered, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
is like a copy of some original plant medicine.
Yeah.
So when I moved down here to Ecuador, I was doing the life coaching business. I was doing that specifically with, so talk about not knowing about the XJW community. I only barely found out these communities even existed about a year ago. And Justin was one of the ones that I first saw. I actually
Mm-hmm.
stumbled across a Facebook group of XJWs, and I was like, oh my gosh, how did these people ever find anybody that understands what it's like to grow up in a cult? I mean, the language alone, the terms that we use and everything like that's just kind of like, phew, how does a
Yeah.
therapist understand that? How do you find somebody that understands the depth of disfellowshipping and, being labeled and stuff like that? So prior to that, most of my clients were all in the health category, because with the type of therapy that I do, the mind and the body, there's a huge healing connection
Yeah.
between our emotions and our physical health, between our immune system, digestive issues. A lot of that has to do with our emotions. So I had a couple of doctors in Florida that would refer patients to me that either didn't respond to traditional medications, they couldn't figure out what was wrong with them, or people who just wanted a more holistic way to treat their health. And then being here in Ecuador, the indigenous people here have a wealth of plant medicines that they use for all kinds of ailments.
Mm-hmm.
And the plant medicines that are specifically good for emotional healing are the ones that really fascinated me, because I'm in a field of emotional healing. So in my mind, it was like, well, anything that can accelerate our emotional healing, I'm down. I'm down for
Mm-hmm.
trying, because
Yeah.
I lost 38 years in the religion.
Yeah.
I don't have time to heal slow. I need to be on a rocket ship to making up for lost time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So the plant medicines specifically that are for the emotional healing that we use down here is psilocybin, which is magic mushrooms, which is not unique to here, but that's one that we use. And the other two specifically are San Pedro and ayahuasca. Ayahuasca is DMT, and San Pedro is in the mescaline family. These are plant medicines that have been used by the indigenous populations for spiritual and emotional healing for
Of course.
literally thousands of
Of course.
years.
Right.
Literally thousands of years.
Yep.
And they're safely used. They're not addictive. They're just they're beautiful, beautiful plants. And when you
Right.
compare that to some of the healing things that we have available in our westernized
Doesn't
world,
compare.
it doesn't even compare. You know, they want to put us on antidepressants forever. I mean, a lot of the Western treatments don't fix us. They help us deal with it. You know, it's like a Band-Aid, but it doesn't make us whole. It just helps
And
us
most cases makes it
thrive.
worse.
Yeah, a lot of times. And these plant medicines, they're just, they purge your soul of things that you don't even realize is in there. You know, it's like I said, I would have these little hangups about, oh, whatever you want, honey. And you don't even realize that the programs are running in the back of your head. These plant medicines, they get inside your skull and they wash all of those thoughts and feelings out, and they allow it a safe space to come out. And when you're done with the plant medicine therapies, whatever it is that you came to the table with,
It's
it
gone.
doesn't exist anymore. It's not there. It is no longer in your head.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot.
Oh my gosh, they're fantastic. And so we've been here about 4 years. I've guided over 200 plant medicine trips myself. I'm learning with shamans here. I've got a shaman that participates with me, but
That's awesome.
but in order to get the best use out of these wonderful tools, Westerners need a little bit more help, because the indigenous people, they start using these plant medicines young, like 8, 9, 10 years old, and they use it regularly. So it's almost like they're in therapy from childhood on.
They're
you know?
used to it.
Yeah, they're used to it. It's like they're doing this soul purging and this soul
It's like
cleansing
breathing for them, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so as I was going through my initial first treatments, I had to figure out a lot of it myself, because shamans don't know how to do integration work. They don't know how to sit there with you and say, okay, let's talk about this. Let's work through this. They don't have tools. They don't have any psychology skills or anything like that. They don't need it in their world. You know, they've already cleansed the plate so much, so to speak, that they have no real need for that. And we do. So this is a huge combination of taking the plant medicines and applying it to us, what our psyche is like, the stresses that we have, which is not like what indigenous people have. They don't come from our background. They don't come from our trauma.
I'm gonna say hi to these guys. What's up? I don't know if I can. No, I don't have the privilege. If I can put people's comments on screen, but
I think we can.
Hey Ruby. Hey Dan.
Hi
Hey Jay.
Ruby. Hi Jay.
Thank you, Dan, for the donation. I'm not sure which channel it goes to, but regardless, thank you. And Fallen Ashes, what's up, Ash? And Penny Bee Flower. You know Penny Bee Flower?
No, I don't think I know Penny. Hello, Penny.
I don't either. And Genie Fi too. Welcome. Look at, we have a post-cult hygie. Hello from England. It's past midnight and I need to go to sleep. I'll catch up with recording tomorrow. Okay. Wonderful.
Okay, so I guess that we could technically ask people if they have questions, huh?
Yeah, I mean, let's do that. I mean, if
I
you
don't
guys have
know
any
how.
questions, I mean, you can just ask and they'll comment and do you know
Yeah,
how
like, push a
to
button or
put their comments on screen? You know how to do that?
No.
So all you do is you highlight over their name and 3 dots will appear on the right. If not, it'll say show or display. I forgot. Yeah, see.
Oh yeah, there we go. Look at it. Look at me figuring out technology.
Oh, it allows me to delete comments. Yes, Jay says medicine woman.
I know, right? I need to label my interview regular pioneer to medicine woman in Ecuador in 10 years. If I could do it, anybody could do
Yeah.
it.
I remember hearing that about you in Jay and Justin's channel, how you went from a religious person to a, a plant woman in Ecuador. It was just like in the mountains. You had said in the mountains, and I was like, "What? That's crazy. It's like super cool."
But
I
all that year, all that time that I dedicated to the religion, I think that truly spiritual experiences, maybe I had one or two. And I think that's probably one of another things that's kind of like this unquantifiable benefit of some of those plant medicines is it's almost like it really does open you up to how
yeah.
big the universe is, how powerful our minds are, what our minds are really capable of is so much more than what we ever thought. Obviously, coming from a religion, we were in such a box.
Yeah, that reminds me a lot of what I'm about to say, right? Like, let me just read this. It says, "We have not gone for a year. We had our first experience of being shunned by extended family. Your other episodes helped me feel sorry for them and hold my head up high." Awesome. Yes, yes, and we apologize for the shunning, but we all been there.
Yeah.
Um, it's crazy. Like, I really think about this, right? We were taught all our lives. Actually, if you really think about it, everything bad was always good, and I feel like that's always been for a reason. Like, we can't even celebrate birthdays because birthdays are a celebration of you, right? And
Yeah.
they're stripping that away from you because they don't want you to become a better version of yourself. Now, this reminds me of how they used to teach that meditation is bad, but meditation comes with a lot of benefits because and it allows you to enlighten yourself, to unlock a certain part of yourself, right? A different
Yeah.
side of you for the greater good, right? Like for your own
Mhm.
mental health, your own mental capabilities are unlocked, like your critical
Mhm.
thinking is heightened. And I feel like that's the same thing with these magic mushrooms and they're telling you not to do it because they know once you do, it'll heal you. It'll heal you mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and on the spiritual front, that's what they're afraid of because they're afraid of you exposing them sooner, I guess. And
Yeah.
it's I find that very interesting. It makes so much more sense. And you said that that really does. Is that a case for everybody that goes under this type of spiritual therapy? I mean, drug therapy, I guess you can say.
Yes, absolutely. Because what it's doing is it's literally creating new synapses between neurons. It's literally, I wish they could do a study that would test IQ before and after, because I would not at all be surprised if your IQ is literally higher after you take plant medicines. I'm not kidding, because your awareness becomes so different. It's like, how they say you can't see the forest for the trees? That's true about our head. Sometimes we can't see our own trauma for the trauma. We can't see our own emotions because we're in them. And the plant medicines, they give you this, other perspective. It's like being a fly on the wall so that you can look at your own thoughts and go, well, that's kind of crazy,
Yeah.
or, oh, that's silly of me to think that, where did that come from? It's
Wow.
an objective way. I mean, it's almost like when we're in our own head, it's like we're in quicksand, we can't get out of our own mud. We can't get out of our own way. And because the plant medicines literally help you rewire your brain in a different way, it's like all of a sudden you can look at it from this other perspective and go, oh, yeah. I mean, it's like looking at yourself in a mirror.
Yeah.
Go
It,
ahead.
it, no, I was just gonna say that's where the healing factor comes in. I mean,
Exactly.
it's the same thing when you are, I guess you are fasting, right? When you fast,
Mhm.
do you still hear me?
Yeah, I accidentally clicked on something though.
Okay.
There you go.
So it's like when you fast for a certain amount of time, say 16, 18 hours, you reach what's called autophagy. And autophagy is where it's a state where your body ends up working in healing mode and starts
Yeah.
repairing. And I feel like with these so-called drugs or natural remedies, like it's unlocking a part of your body where it allows you to heal, and it could even cure at times. As I've heard that it can cure certain diseases. It may
Yeah.
even help with Parkinson's. If I'm not sure if that's true or not, but
Hmm.
like there's certain levels of I guess you can say, I can't find the word, but like just issues that somebody may have. And is that true where someone can come in with some type of disease and it'll just be cured like the same day or right after?
Yes. Yes.
It's
So
amazing.
not only have I seen that in other people, but I'll give you some of my own examples. I had this wicked, wicked tennis elbow for
Hmm.
months and months and months. It was so bad I could barely even grip a cup of coffee. It was so bad. And I have like these massive dogs. My dog's like 120 pounds. And so I was blaming the dogs, they pulling on a leash, they did something to my elbow. And, I've got
Hmm.
goats, so I'm blaming it on goats jerking my arm. Anyway, it was so bad. I couldn't even hold a cup of coffee. So one of the times that I took psilocybin, I just felt like this almost uncontrollable urge just to move. I mean, almost like a psychopath kind of.
Hmm.
And I could feel like this buzzing and tingling in my elbow. I guess the only way to describe it is it felt like when you
Like when
pull
you
the
go,
plug in the bathtub and all the water starts draining, you can kind of hear it and there's like
wow,
this suction of draining. That's kind of like the sensation I got in my elbow.
wow.
Poof. I had no problems with that. From that moment since, I have had zero tendonitis in this elbow. Zero. That's not what I took the mushrooms for. What I took them was for the emotional healing. But if you read if you like, there's a great book called The Body Keeps the Score. I can't remember
Hmm.
who the author is, but anyway, it basically is that the body does hold emotions. Like if you remember when we used to have to give talks or something like that, how you would feel nervous and you'd feel it in your stomach, like you'd
Yeah.
literally get sick to your stomach. That's
Hmm.
because our bodies do feel energies. We are energetic beings, and all of these emotions, they can get stored in the body. And
Hmm.
these plant medicines have a way of just going chink, 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 chink,
Yeah.
letting them evaporate. I don't know what emotion it was that evaporated, but I'll take it because my arm and my elbow was fine. Another time when I had done the San Pedro, I was
Hmm.
having a ton of hip pain. And, I blamed it on age, just turned 49. I'm walking up and down a mountain, I don't stretch
Mm.
enough, my
Yeah.
mattress, blaming it on all these kind of things. And in that particular session, I took the medicine and my legs started going like this. And I thought, okay. And I thought, all right, well, let me control, and I could control it. I could stop it, but it was almost like it took more effort to control it than it did just to kind of let my legs vibrate.
Hmm.
And again, it was like this whooshing sensation down through my legs. And by the time that plant medicine session was over, dude, I'm like jumping around like some spring chicken. There's nothing, no pain at all left in my hips.
And it's a
None.
permanent heal, correct?
Done. Gone. It's been gone for almost a year now.
Wow.
Poof. All of a sudden. Here we are thinking that it has to be age, or
Hmm.
it maybe it's not. Maybe it's some of these emotions or energies or whatever it is that's stored in the body, and the plant medicines they're rewiring your brain, so it's helping you release that. Even just this last week, I had my shaman came over and he says, "Let me give you a session." I'm always giving other people sessions, so let me guide you. So I did an ayahuasca session, and I'd been noticing that my vision's kind of been blurry over the last 4 to 5 months. And again, I'm just
I
kind
want
of
to talk to you
chalking that
about
up
that
as
too. Yeah.
age and stuff like that. And it was like in the ayahuasca is DMT. I felt like this burst of energy, and instantly because I was watching the fire, right? And I was paying attention to the logs of the fire. I was actually specifically noticing that they look kind of blurry. And
Hmm.
I felt like this burst of energy, and then instantly it was like everything went into focus.
I've experienced something like that before.
Instantly. And
Right.
it's like
Hmm.
I've had 2020. It's like 2020 vision. I can read the TV. I mean, I can read everything.
Yeah.
It's all. I mean, we have more. We are capable of more than what we realize, and these plant medicines kind of help unlock some of those tools. The
Yeah.
brain already has.
It's like you were saying about how you feel nervous, right? But that's like you feel like energy. You feel like a
Yeah.
spiritual side of you that's there, dormant. And
Hmm.
when you take these in, it's like you're introducing your body into like a higher self conscious, like, and it's like you're tapping into some form of divine, like, it's like you're a part of something, you don't know it until you take these drugs, and it's like you're now unlocking it and healing. And when you said that eye thing, it reminded me of, like, I remember, like, one day, like, it was the weirdest thing. Like, I'm staring, I got invited to a gathering, and I'm having this weird, like, pain in my eye, and I don't know what it is. I took some drug, some I don't know if it was over the counter or what. I just found it, and it said pain reliever. I took it, and I remember seeing, like, blurry, and I could literally feel and literally see, like, everything shifting, and then everything just fading away, and then I could see clearly. But it wasn't so much the vision clearing up that amazed me. It was like the feeling of it, right? So
Yeah.
I wonder if with all you're saying with the whole elbow thing and your hip thing, if that's sort of like a portion of what I would feel if I were to take
Yeah.
these shrooms. Like, I would love to experience something like that. And I know, because we're live on YouTube, I can't really say that I don't want to, but like,
We do
I would
not
love.
condone the use of illicit things.
Right,
I'm an
exactly.
Ecuador, so I can say whatever I want.
But I would love to experience something like that, and who knows, maybe sometime in the future. But I yeah, it's so amazing and wonderful what you're saying, and it's sad that we've been kept from this, and
Yeah.
the potential and the possibilities are endless with new knowledge that
Yeah.
we've been kept from. And just the fact alone that you were talking about how the world is so loving and everything, there's just so many things that we've been kept from, and it's so sad. And it's every time I interview somebody, there's something new that I hear every
Yeah.
single time,
Yeah.
something positive, something great, amazing.
I mean, it's like I always tell people we've already gone on this questioning journey of questioning religion. We were so convinced that it was the right religion, and then once we started questioning it,
Yeah.
lights come on, we get woke, we've woken up, right? So really what we have to do is question everything that they said not to do. Like you
Yeah.
mentioned, meditation, these plant medicines are forbidden. Why? What are they hiding from us? What are they telling us? What do they not want us to unlock? Critical
Exactly.
thinking, because that's what it's going to do. It's going to give you some critical thinking. It's going to give you perspective. The other reason I think too is that in these high control religions, they are banking on being the only conduit to
Yeah.
anything for you. The only conduit to happiness, the only conduit to spirituality, any sort of relationship with God. They're
Yep.
they're the ones that control who can talk to you, your friends, all of that. It's all about controlling every aspect of you. And these do the exact opposite. They really teach you are whole in yourself. Let me prove it to you. Let me show you how whole you are, and you don't even know it yet. It's just, you know what, I think everybody that comes down has what they think is going to be their expectations, I think. I hope I feel like this, or hopefully I get this. And I think every single person has been like, that was so much more than what I expected. That was and it's not just in the moment that you take it too, because it's rewired your brain. You keep that with you after the plant medicine is gone too. So you'll be
Yeah, it's
having
perfect.
epiphanies for weeks and weeks and weeks afterwards because of this new perspective, because of this new you've literally unlocked other parts of your brain. So it's not even just like, whoop, just took it, now it's gone. This is something that it stays in effect long after you do the plant medicines. And when somebody can do it even more frequently, that's even better. One time is great, but we've got layers. We're cabbages, we've got all of these layers that we're unlocking. So if you're in a position where you could do it once a year or once every 6 months, every single time is like this other profound awakening of something else you didn't even know that you had in you. Somebody's got a question here. Let's see. Jeannie says, can plant medicine be done with a partner, spouse, sibling, or grown child to help cure the emotional damage done to us by the organization? Yes. So there are a lot of plant medicine retreats that do huge groups of people, 30, 50 random groups of total strangers. And I think that's a terrible idea. I do intimate groups, usually anywhere from 2 to 5, and that's only people that know each other. I've done plenty of single, like one person only type of experiences too, because you need that intimacy. You need that safe space. I mean, who really wants to be sharing all of their stuff with a random group of strangers that, that's just, it kind of like loses its intimacy, I guess. You're not really in a safe place to talk about everything. Does that make sense? So that's why when I do groups, they're small groups. It's, a mother, daughter, a husband, a wife, or I've got a group that's going to be coming down in March that's 5 people that left the religion together. So they're kind of like on this journey together. And that's perfect because they know each other. They're in this space where they can be processing whatever healing it is that they're doing with a like-minded group of people that understands. So hopefully that kind of answers that question.
I have a question on the comparison with marijuana on an emotional level, because I smoke marijuana, and I know there are times where my heart is just racing and then I get anxiety. Is that something I would experience? Because I know there are people that say, oh, you go on trips. And I'm just like, well, is that going to be scary for me? Because I get anxiety sometimes when I smoke marijuana. So I don't know if that's the same
Yes.
kind of emotional.
You probably will. And so here's what I will tell you about that. You're already living with it all the time anyway.
True.
So heal it. I had one guy that I had come in. So when I do plant medicines with somebody, I usually do 2 to 3 months of coaching with them first. One of the reasons why I do that is because with the neuro-linguistic programming, there's very specific tools that there's a lot of stuff I can heal with that. And if we can kind of clear out some of the stuff before you get down here, it kind of like gives the plant room to get even deeper, like phobias, panic attacks, all that kind of stuff. A lot of that stuff we could take care of with the other tool, with the coaching on the phone. This particular guy, he's a local politician, and he didn't do any sort of coaching or anything like that. But he wanted to come and he wanted to do the mushrooms is what he wanted to do. I knew because he was a referral. I already knew that he suffered from extreme panic too. And in fact, the person who referred him to me was like, this is probably going to be your toughest person ever because he can't even smell secondhand dope smoke and he starts going into panic attacks. I mean, he's like a severely, severely, severely anxious person.
And he's still willing to try it. Wow.
Okay. And he was still willing to try it. Well, you know what? People want to heal,
Yeah.
So he comes to me and he wanted to have this deep spiritual experience. He wanted to have this deep healing. And I go, okay, that's not exactly how the plant medicines work. They're going to heal whatever on the surface first. So hopefully we have this really great spiritual experience, or we're going to heal something else. Now, in my mind, I was like, okay, this guy's going to have a panic attack, and that's okay because that needs to be healed too.
Right.
You can't
it's like you're facing
profound spiritual connection if you're not comfortable in your own skin. So I give him the plant medicine, and sure enough, after about 15 or 20 minutes, he starts freaking out. He starts
Yeah.
massively having a panic attack. And he's like, you need to make it stop, make it stop, make it stop. And I go, that's not how this works. This is
Once it's
one-way
in there,
traffic.
you gotta let it ride. Yeah.
He's like, you need to take me to the hospital. And I go, so that's not how this works either. You know, if I take you to the hospital, you're going to be in this room with lights and lots of people, and there's nothing they can give you. And he goes, he's a politician, right? He's like, am I going to start talking a lot? And I go, probably. He goes, shit. So he's like, I have to take him. So he's having like this massive, massive, massive panic attack. But these plant medicines are not like, it's not like alcohol where you're drunk and you're not coherent and you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know where you are. That is alcohol. That is a whole other weirdness. That is not what we're talking about here.
Mm-hmm.
With plant medicines, you are very much coherent. The difference is it's almost like it lowers this firewall between the right and the left brain. It's like it lowers the it's like it lowers the block between your logic side and your emotion side so that they can get together like this.
Wow.
So
Okay.
what happens in regular life, you feel a feeling like panic, and your logical side starts fighting it, and you're like fighting this panic, and the more you fight it, the more the panic, you know, and it's like you're at war with yourself.
Yeah.
But plant medicine gives you this safe space where you can go, okay, this is super uncomfortable, but let me look at it. Let me look at it. Okay, this sucks. But it's just a feeling. And so it took us about an hour to walk through it. And I was doing NLP, very specific NLP processes with him for the panic attacks. And so after about an hour, he was like, okay, this is just a feeling. This isn't real. There's actually nothing to panic about.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fine. I'm breathing. Oh, very interesting. This is really intense panic, but not embracing it at the same time. Does that make sense? I mean, very much aware that he was panicking.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly.
But not panicking at the panic, because that's sometimes what we do in real life. We're more afraid of the panic than the panic, right? It's almost like we're panicky of the panic. We're afraid of the
that
panic.
Makes sense, right?
Right.
I
But
get
the
you.
plant
Yeah.
medicine just kind of gives you this place to just go, all right, okay, let's explore this. Let's talk about this. Let's reframe this. Take a deep breath. Let's breathe through this. And you know what? After about an hour, he didn't need my help anymore. And he's just like, okay.
Wow.
This is just a feeling. This is just a feeling. I'm the one that's in control. I'm okay. And then by about 2 hours, he's like, okay, all right. Yeah, I'm having a panic attack. This is no big deal. I've got this. No, and by the end, he was totally calm. He was totally fine. Now, he did not have the deep spiritual experience that he was looking for.
He was probably so focused on the panic attack. Yeah.
He was so focused on the panic attack, but the panic attacks are gone now. He's probably one of my biggest sources of referrals here locally, because his family's like, what did you do to him? He could like drive normal now. I mean, he's not like Mr. Basket Case anymore. He's a different human. And it's because he is a different human. He's a more whole human. He's not battling himself anymore. So that's just kind of, okay, so a lot of times when you do any sort of research on plant medicines or psilocybin, you will hear about a bad trip. That man would have had a bad trip if he'd have been alone. You know, this is the whole, kids don't do this at home.
Yeah.
There's a big difference between using plant medicines responsibly in a therapeutic environment that makes it completely different. You're safe. You're with somebody that's, I've done this a lot. You know what? You're okay. You're safe. Let's walk through this. Let's talk through this.
Yeah. Sometimes you need that continuous
difference
reassurance.
between doing it therapeutically and doing it either recreationally, excuse me, or doing it recreationally or randomly. Now, even randomly, if somebody were to do something like this on their own, there's still benefits to it. But the benefits to having it guided is like 100 times more.
Right. I feel like I would be that type of person that would need that, because that constant reassurance that you're okay is
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
And I know when I took I took edibles one time with Captain Morgan. Just drinking and taking edibles, drinking, taking edibles.
Oh
That
my
was the
God.
worst mistake ever. I literally thought I was gonna die. I was just, I remember just hanging on to the freaking counter, and my wife's telling me, you're fine, let go." And I'm just like squeezing because I'm like, if I let go, I'm gonna fall, break my neck, I'm just gonna die. And then I was telling her what she should do with the kids. Like, you should do this, you should do that when I'm gone. Like, I'm just telling her I'm gonna die. And I, if it wasn't for her telling me it's okay, don't worry about it, like you're
Yeah.
fine, like I would have been a wreck. And I feel like that's the type of case, or that's what I would be in if I had
Yeah.
taken plant medicine and these magic mushrooms. I guess that's why they call it magic mushrooms too, because it can heal and allow you to have access to something otherwise you wouldn't have access on a daily basis or on over the counter medicine. That I,
Exactly, exactly. So specifically with the psilocybin, it's very common to have a lot of visual input. And the reason for that is, again, like we say, the plant medicine is not doing anything to you. It's not giving you it. That panic attack was not because of the plant medicine. That was already in his head. That was already inside of him. This is just giving you a safe place to let it out. But specifically with the visuals, what the psilocybin does is it binds to these A1 serotonin receptors, and there's more of those in the visual cortex than there are any other part of the brain. So it's literally activating things that's already in your brain. I mean, it's fascinating. It's fascinating what we're capable of doing if we just had that key, if we just had that opportunity to go ching ching ching, vision's better, health is better. How does that happen? Is it the plant? Or is it the plant allowing your body to do what your body has the
as
ability to
our
do
yeah.
anyway? Now it
Mm-hmm.
just has permission and it has a safe space to do that.
Permission. Exactly.
Mhm.
It's like you're almost subconsciously withholding yourself from what you're capable of.
Because
And
of our
it's,
own limitations, really, because of our
yeah,
own, brainwashing isn't just religious brainwashing. We've got brainwashing coming at us from all sides of everything. As soon as you hear what is brainwashing? It's basically just a thought that you've been told is true, then you accept it as true, and then it happens. Well, wait a second, there's a huge world out there. The capability of our brains, the capability of our immune systems is so much more than what we're accessing. I mean, what do they say? We're only using like 5% of our
I think it was
brain
like
power.
7% or something. Yeah.
10%, some ridiculous amount. I mean, so even at 10%, all you have to do is unlock an extra 2%, and that's like
Even
you just
that is
increased your brain power by 20%.
right. That is, I've seen that movie Lucy. I don't know if you remember that movie Lucy.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine like what our 100% brain usage would look like? Like, that stuff is true. I mean, obviously not the flying or the walking on walls, but I mean, it's true. Like, and then what you say about on the religious front, like you would think like they know what your brain is
Yeah.
capable. I'm sure they study. I
Yeah.
mean, they know exactly what buttons to push and how to control you and brainwash you. And
Mhm.
it's almost scary sometimes when you think about it. Like they're really keeping you from something you're a better version of yourself. They're keeping you
A
from. And
better version of yourself is a great, great way to put it.
yeah.
If they can put you on antidepressants and you can be on antidepressants for the rest of your life, there's a lot of financial gain there too, versus, taking a plant medicine that literally grows everywhere. I mean, mushrooms grow everywhere. This isn't anything new. The DMT that's in ayahuasca, the human brain produces that anyway. These are natural substances that we already have. And so by using these natural substances that are easily available, man, that could step humanity up to this whole other level. I'm thrilled that they're starting to do research with psilocybin. I mean, I think I have had more people come because of addictions, whether it's alcohol addiction, One person came with a heroin addiction. I had another person with a meth addiction. Because like I said, I've only kind of like discovered this XJW community about a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
Previous to that, I'm with all kinds of all walks of life,
Yeah.
and it's done. They're transformed by these plant medicines, and obviously somebody has to be willing to explore themselves too. I mean,
Yeah.
I can't
I've
just
been
have
in that.
somebody who's like, this is
Right.
bullshit. I don't even believe in this, and I give it to them and they are miraculously transformed.
Uh huh. Uh huh. I'm.
You have to be willing to say, you know what? Teach me what I don't know, help me, and it's that openness and that honesty with yourself.
Yeah.
It's these are the people that I think benefit from it the most. The ones that are willing to say to yourself, show me my darkest corners. Help
Mm-hmm.
me get that out. Show me what I'm missing. What else can I get out? How much can I get out of it all at once, And
Yeah.
with that kind of attitude, man, there is just it doesn't even
Yeah.
have to be healing trauma either. I mean, there's beauty like the physical healings. That is legit, the wholeness. So they're studying plant medicines specifically for PTSD, depression, and addictions, and they're having fantastic results. I mean,
Results.
Google it.
Mm-hmm.
Psilocybin
I
and
heard about that too.
addiction, depression, they have fantastic results. But there are so many not quantifiable. There are non-tangibles that come along with that. Like, how do you measure your sense of wholeness
Mm.
before and after plant medicine? How do you measure connectedness? You know, I think probably that's one of the main words or one of the main feelings that people come out of the plant medicine treatment with is this feeling that they are connected to everything, that they are connected to the universe, that they are connected to
I
God,
believe that.
they're connected to the plants. You know what? We're all matter, we're
Right.
all atoms moving
That's.
around.
I was gonna say that. Yeah.
The human brain takes in 11 million bits of information per second. Our unconscious mind is able to process about 40,000 bits of information per second. And we are consciously aware of only 40 bits of information per second. So we are like this
Sad.
massive
It means
satellite,
very little.
11 million down to
40
40,000
to
down to
40.
40. Our whole existence is based off of that 40 pieces of information per second. So it's like what these plant medicines do is they allow you to be aware of that 11 million that's pouring into your brain. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, I mean,
Yeah.
what is 11 million bits of data per second? Every human alive's brain is processing that. That means that we are far more connected than what we understand.
Yeah.
And if you can access even that much more of it, man, it just enhances your life so much more. I think, let's see, who said this? I think Jay said something about changing your personality.
Yeah. He
Does
was making a
anyone
joke.
does anyone worry that their personality will change? Well, it's
But
only for the better because this is all you, buddy. This is all that's inside of you. Nobody's giving you anything. This
mm-hmm.
is this is you turning into a flower. It's like you're a thorny rose bush and you've got all these buds on you. And what the plant medicine does is it makes you flower. It's like the fertilizer that you need to become who you really
Yeah.
are.
It reminded me of something. You reminded me of two things earlier. What you said about how we're all connected and
Mhm.
we're all matter. I mean, even the Bible says that we're made from the ground, and that reminded me also of what you were saying about self discovery. I've been on a self discovery where I recently discovered grounding. Not sure if you guys know what grounding is, and you're essentially going on your nature walk barefoot. You take your shoes off, you take your socks off, and you end up grounding yourself. That's where the grounding comes in, and you're feeling like earth, like you're feeling everything, and your senses are heightened and all of that, and a lot of meditation helps with that as well. And I did a nature walk like last week. I did that very thing. Just sat
Uh-huh.
down barefoot, walked barefoot, sat down barefoot, and just meditated. And I felt like I was just free from my anxiety, free from
Hmm.
my struggles. Like all my issues were gone, and that's just temporary. But you're talking
Yeah.
about plant medicine that is permanent. Like that is like a loophole. Like it's literally a cheat code.
It's it's a hack.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Yeah.
I, you guys, like I'm not supposed to promote this. It's illegal. But I mean,
Not in Ecuador.
if I could, I would. I mean, that is amazing. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
I appreciate you coming on here and talking to us about this stuff because everything you said is down from your story, what you went through, your experiences, your new career in life, your hobbies. Like it's amazing. Like this. No offense to all my interviewees out there, but this has been one of the best interviews I've ever had. I mean,
The one thing that I want everybody to take away from this is be your own rocket ship. I think maybe sometimes the reason why we're slower when we get out of the religion, maybe, is because we forgot how to dream. We were given a paradise dream, and that was it. You know, when you ask a little kid, "Hey, what do you want to be when you grow up?" They're like, "I want to be an astronaut," because their imaginations are like, they're like, "I want to do
yeah.
this, I want to do this," what? And so when you
Hmm.
ask an adult, "Hey, what do you want to be?" We're like, I'm stuck in this. I'm stuck in my life. I'm 40. I have no education. I have a mortgage to pay. You know what? That's not dreaming. That's not opening up your mind to the possibilities. As long as you stay in reality, that's what you're going to get. That's what your mind is going to get you, is that reality. You know what? Why can't you be a rock star? Why
Yeah.
can't you be an Olympic coach? Why? We're the only ones that stop us. We're the only ones that are holding us back.
Yeah.
It is never too late to decide you want to be a witch doctor on the side of a mountain in Ecuador. Go for it. Go big. I mean, how do you ever accomplish anything like that if you don't dream it?
Exactly. Yeah. That's another thing. How does that affect your dreams or even nightmares? And
Yeah.
what does that do to you in that sense? If have you had anybody come to you with that information?
So it's soul crushing. That's why people get depressed when they leave the religion.
Okay.
It's absolutely crushing when you have no future dreams. Okay, so the human brain has to have something to look forward to. It
Okay.
has to. Okay. In that sense, when we were still in the religion, the paradise, resurrection, it served its purpose because there was something out there in the future, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Just like when a little kid wants to be an astronaut, they're not focusing on, is this realistic? Is this practical? The logic brain doesn't get in the way of what your goals and dreams are, right? And so even paradise serves as a healthy brain function in that sense, that you have something to look forward to. Even non-Jehovah's Witnesses, when you die, you're going to go to heaven.
Yeah.
You know what? That still is something that the brain can look forward to. And a lot of times, that's one of the huge things that helps with depression. A lot of times, if somebody is suffering depression, the lack of anything to look forward to, or maybe it's the opposite. Maybe what they're looking forward to is Armageddon. Or you have like these really negative things that your mind is picturing for the future. It causes, we're going to respond to those mental images, and maybe our mental images are contributing to our lack of mental health.
Makes sense.
So one of the things that I work on when I'm helping somebody rehabilitate after leaving the religion is let's create a future. because we just blew up paradise. We just blew up the resurrection. And sometimes the only thing that's left is Armageddon, you know? So a lot of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, as soon as something bad happens in the news, it can create like this panic in us because maybe we've gotten rid of a lot of things, but maybe mentally we haven't totally reprogrammed our future. And again, that's why a lot of times when people leave the religion, they kind of get depressed because
there's no
paradise was kind of fun to look forward to. I mean, it was better
future.
than, yeah, it was something to look forward to. So we need to create those again. And it's not even about, is it realistic or not? 10 years ago, as I start from a backpack, literally starting my life over again, my life right now wasn't realistic. That was daydreaming. That was, not realistic, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the brain has this amazing way to figure things out once it knows where you're going, where the goal is. So think about it like this. How do you get to your vacation?
Plan.
First, you have to decide where you're going on vacation.
Right.
First, you got to know where you're going. Oh, I'm going to Canada. Okay, fine. Here's how you do it, Oh, I'm going to the Caribbean. Okay, so first of all, now we see you can't start mapping out the how until you know the where.
Mm-hmm.
And dream big. So if I can do it, everybody can do it. I know Jay, you've got some questions about NLP, so let's see. He's got a bunch of questions here.
Yeah, he had a.
Okay, so some of the questions about NLP. NLP basically was started in the late 70s by a couple of dudes. One of them was a computer programmer. The other was a linguist, and the other one was a psychologist. And so basically they just kind of got together and they were like, okay, how do brains work? How does this person stay optimistic? And why is this person pessimistic? If we've got the same computer in between our ears here, how do you optimize it for success? And so can somebody do NLP on themselves? Yes, but that requires you to be able to see your own mental glitches, and sometimes that can be hard. It's like trying to cut your own hair without a mirror. So it's always that the objectiveness of having somebody else help you with it is pretty important. Actually, you know what? I've had enough people ask me about NLP. I'm actually thinking about putting together a course. So if I end up doing that, I'll let you know. Yeah. Maybe we could do another session sometime and I could show you some of the mental gymnastics that NLP can do for us.
You can even have multiple guests on here and now, and have them interact with us too.
That'd be cool.
Instead of just the comment, instead of the keyboard, they can actually physically talk to us.
Yeah.
Talk to you,
Yeah. I did some lives with Jack a couple of times and we did.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. Those are pretty helpful so that people can kind of see what it's capable of doing.
Wow. You have so much knowledge. It's insane how I'm pretty sure you look at your past and you're like, what was I thinking? Like, I didn't know any of this stuff. And now it's like, wow.
Well, but you know what? Every part of what we came from brought us to where we are today. So I know that when we leave the religion, I think it's pretty natural to go through this phase of, all this anger, all this suffering, all this wasted stuff. Yeah, but you know what? Everybody has something. Every human alive. Nobody comes from perfect parents. Jehovah's Witnesses, we're not the only ones that come from crazy religions. I mean, here in Latin America, Catholicism has a huge hold on people. I mean, gay people have their own set of challenges with living in the world and being accepted. I mean, we all come from an eclectic background. And you know what? We all need the healing, and everything that we've gone through is what makes us who we are now, who we are today.
Wonderful. Beautiful.
So just figure out what was the good, and more importantly, focus on where we're going. Focus on where you want to be.
And never be afraid to ask questions.
Never be afraid to ask questions.
And do you're studying and you're researching, something you've been banned from doing.
Especially if it's forbidden.
If it's forbidden, it's a good thing. That means it could possibly be a great thing.
Exactly, especially when it's the type of thing that is not chemical.
Yeah.
We're talking about a plant out of the ground. It's natural. It's natural.
Well, God made it for a reason.
It's here for a reason.
It's here for whether it's you believe in God or not. It's here for a reason.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I don't have any more questions.
That's okay, because Jay has a million questions.
Yep. He says I have a million questions. I'm so used to like highlighting. I can't do that now. Feel free to reach out, Jay. I mean,
okay, we're gonna do an episode just with you, Jay.
Yes, like it'll be called Jay's Wonderful Discovery. I don't know, something interesting, something fun. Jay's a really good guy. He's been very devoted and determined to watch my videos. I appreciate you coming on, man.
Send me a list of your questions and I'll do a video on them, Jay.
Yeah. Do you have do you have access to email or anything that people can reach you with, or even on
I've got my emails on my little thingy here, healingsoulsnlp@gmail.com.
Okay. Oh, that's true. It's right there.
Yeah.
Her name's Dina, guys.
Dina.
And she knows Spanish too. So if anybody here has questions in Spanish, I'm pretty sure she can answer. Correct?
Sí.
You see? That's good. Oh, look, I literally just stumbled across Fabiana Martin. She just says, "Me gustan tus videos, Dina, en español."
Tengo muchos que tengo que traducir que no he traducido todavía.
¡Epa, la mujer habla! That's good. That's good. You know who you'd be fun interviewing is Panda Tower. Like he's Spanish and he's wonderful, man. He's funny.
Okay, we'll do the next one. We'll do the next one in Spanish.
Yes, we can have the three of us on. I gotta send him a message, and then we'll have Jay on there too.
All right, let's do it.
But yeah, I mean, I don't have any more questions. I believe this was a perfect place to.
We're at an hour and a half. We're at an hour and a half, so everybody's probably brain dead right now anyway. So stay tuned. Yeah. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Yes, that good old message. Yeah, don't forget to subscribe, guys. Don't forget to share it. Share it with people that you think would benefit from this. And don't forget to hit that like button. We thank you guys for the participation, the donations. And I'm sure Dina has the same words to say. And we were streaming on both channels. I hope it worked out. That didn't confuse people too much. But yeah, that's all I have to say.
All right, guys. Have a great evening. And we will talk to you in Espanol, Jay.
Yeah. Yeah, well, thank you guys. I appreciate it. Love you guys.
All right, guys. Have a good evening. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye. Take care.